What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode. So if you guys saw my previous video where Luca and I went to the track, I was down on power. Now I was only making about 7 pounds of boost. Now I thought to myself, okay, worst case scenario, it's my turbo. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I probably could have been worse than that. I could probably have a cooked engine, but luckily that is not the problem that I'm having. An issue that I'm having right now is my arm is itchy as heck because I had to remove my turbo blanket that's found right there. That basically covers up the entire turbo system found up front in my Mini Cooper. Now, after I removed that, I was able to find exactly the problem of why my car wasn't making the power that it should have been. So this thing should have been absolutely smoking Luca in the straights, and it should be pulling super hard. With the tune that I have on here from RPM Powered, this thing should be making about 300 wheel, give or take. So the issue that I'm having is that the wastegate, there's two nuts that are on there. So there's one of them that goes basically in front of the wastegate actuator and another one behind it. The one before it that's closest to the actual plunger was on there. The one on the opposite side was not. It was completely gone. So I didn't exactly have proper wastegate function, which means I can't make proper boost. So at best, as you guys saw, I was making 7 pounds of boost. Now I need to fix this, but luckily the turbo isn't broken. So right here is the entire turbo setup. Now, something that I'm regretting not doing is ceramic coating the hot side of the turbo. Because what I'm actually noticing is that the heat shield, or the turbo blanket right here, is actually kind of falling apart. And this thing's brand new. I've had this thing on the car for like, I don't know, 1,500 kilometers. 2 months maybe at most of actual use, and it's already starting to tear. So I need to figure something else out right here so I can solve that problem, because otherwise I'll be making a ton of heat in this area and it's going to be heating up the intake, which means my intake temps are going to be through the roof. So I'm going to have to figure something else out with this, but the wastegate actuator is right there. So you see that arm? Well, you can see the one nut found right there. Now the issue that I'm having is that the other one is not there. So there's the one. And it should be connected to the little thing right in the center of the screen. Now I had to disconnect the downpipe and the exhaust system to get access to it, and I still need to disconnect the O2 sensor, the secondary one, because right now the downpipe is still on the car. But once I take the downpipe out, I'll actually be able to see the entire turbo setup along with the wastegate and ensure everything's working as it should. Now on the note of the exhaust, that gets me started with another issue that I'm having. Well, yeah, let's call it an issue. So at the track, you guys saw that the exhaust fell off 3 times in total. And that's not exactly a good thing to happen at the track, even on the street for that matter. Now luckily I didn't have it happen on the street, but my exhaust setup, because it's all custom, the hangers weren't exactly bent as they were supposed to. So let me turn the exhaust, and you can actually see that the exhaust was scraping on the ground. So can you see right there? So this here is pretty much scraped off because it was rubbing. I'm not making a good seal here. So you can literally see an exhaust leak. You can see it was scraping there. There's clean. And the other problem that I'm having is when I go over some bumps, where is it? Right here. You can see that I'm actually rubbing against the subframe, and it's actually taking the paint right off of it. So this is not exactly going to work, especially for my track setup. And this piping that I'm having right here is entirely 2 1/4 inch. So there's not anything really wrong with the 2 1/4 inch exhaust system for this turbocharged Mini, but if you want to make more power, you need something bigger than that. Now I was looking into aftermarket exhaust systems. There's a company called Alta, and they used to make a full 3-inch downpipe back exhaust system. I went to go take a look at it to see if I could pick one up. Now, unfortunately, they don't make that exhaust system anymore. They discontinued it, which means the only other exhaust system that I could find from most of like the bigger websites that actually sell stuff like aftermarket parts, the biggest thing that I found was a 2 1/2 inch exhaust. Now, if I'm gonna be spending, let's call it $1,000 on a full new exhaust system just to go from 2 1/4 to 2 1/2, I don't really think that's worth it. Now, that's why I have something else in mind. So I did a little bit more digging around, and I found an exhaust system that is full 2 3/4 inch from the turbo back. So it includes a downpipe, and you can choose if you want the exhaust system to be resonated, non-resonated. It comes with a muffler. It's full stainless 2 3/4 inch piping, and it comes with 90mm tips. So that's on the way. That's gonna solve this issue. I'm probably not gonna install this exhaust system on the car after I solve the wastegate issue, but I should have something to remedy this turbo problem. Now, also, when I went to the track and the exhaust was dragging, before it actually drooped onto the floor, it was kind of hanging. And take a look at my bumper. Oh, right here. So because the exhaust tip was touching it, it basically cooked it, burned it right off, and now it doesn't exactly look too pretty, but neither does this little hiccup that I have right here since when I bought the car. But yeah, so new exhaust is on the way. That should solve that problem. This is perfect timing, and it should work. Now, knock on wood, nothing else inside the engine bay is going to need some work on. So I'm hoping that the turbo's fine. I'm hoping that everything else is fine after I fix the wastegate. Basically, just go buy another nut to thread onto the wastegate. But this could have been a lot worse. So after getting all this stuff done, I want to take the car back to the track, and I want to see what kind of lap times I can do and see if I can improve on the lap time that I made. So if I'm making the proper power, I should be getting a much faster lap time than a minute 28, I think, or 7, or something along those lines. I forget what the actual lap time was, but if you guys go back to the old video, you guys can see it. I'll link it in the description box. But as for this video, I'll be tinkering around inside the garage a little bit. Now, something else that I actually got done that I'm really pumped about is I got some work done on the Accord. Okay, so after installing the new transmission, guys, disregard the lawnmower that's happening next door. After installing this new transmission, I realized a couple things were different. So, 1 second, let me just, come on, there you go. So obviously, going from a 5-speed open diff to a 6-speed LSD is going to give me some differences. But another difference that I noticed that I didn't really realize until afterwards is that the final drive was a different size than what I currently had stock. So because of that difference in the final drive, my speedometer was off by about 15%. So I had to buy this little speedometer correction kit, which is basically just this little part here. And I had to buy new connectors basically so that I could have a plug-and-play kit. And what I did is I made it so that the 3 wires that were going to the wheel speed sensor, the power, ground, and signal, the power and ground, those worked as they should, and the signal goes through this little module here and then gets changed. So it basically tricks the ECU to basically replicate how the OEM wheel speed sensor would have been working. So the vehicle speed sensor now is correct. So when I was in the car before and I was driving, I had my speedometer in here tell me that I was pretty much doing 115 kilometers when the GPS speedometer thing that I had loaded up on my phone was telling me I was doing 100 kilometers exactly. So because of that, I had that speedometer difference and I needed to fix that. Now, not only was that really an issue just for, well, knowing how fast I'm going, but any kind of actual interval along with the odometer of the car would have been affected. So I would have basically been driving 15% more, and it wasn't really accurate. So with that little speedo correction kit in and installed, I basically spent a couple hours getting that done right, soldered, all hooked up. I'll link that in the description box. But now that I have it all hooked up, it basically is in between the OEM wiring harness for the vehicle speed sensor and the vehicle speed sensor itself. Now I have it zip tied to the wiring harness down here just so that I can basically test fit it, but it all works as it should, and I can basically customize this to any kind of speedo variance I want. So if my speedometer is 1% off, 5%, 50% off, in any direction, either it's too big or too small, I can change that. Now, the cool thing too is that if you also change your overall tire size, so let's say you make it larger or smaller, you'll be affecting your speedo. So if you guys purchase one of these little kits here, I'll link the stuff in the description box, you guys can correct the speedo and it's gonna make everything super accurate. Now, if the speedo is too far off, you actually might get some ABS codes. So just keep that in mind. This here will solve that problem. This was actually intended to be used for like motorcycles. However, I got this to work without a problem for my car. So Lucas sent me a text and he wanted to know if I want to go to the track this Friday coming up. And I don't think I'll be able to actually make it because my Mini might not be back together in time. So I'm waiting for that exhaust to come in. If it comes in on time and I can get the wastegate fixed, we can actually head to the track. If not, maybe I'll take the Z or maybe even the Accord. maybe we can get some base time, maybe we can get some baseline numbers with that. But anyways, guys, if you guys want to find any of the products that you guys saw in this video, you guys can find links in the description as always. I'm going to have more stuff coming out. I'm going to be working on the Mini today, maybe even the Z, because I've got a lot of parts for that. Otherwise, you know, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.